You are listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 337.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? It's a snowy day here in early February, and I am excited to be here in my cookbook bunker recording this episode. I was upstairs in my kitchen earlier, sitting at the kitchen table, enjoying the view out the back door because the snow was a really wet snow, and it's covered the trees, it's covered the patio, it's covered the bushes. It's just a very beautiful snowfall, and it looks very wintry outside. So while I was writing my email to my list this morning, I really wanted to sit up there. But now I'm back downstairs here in my cookbook bunker to share with you some thoughts about traditional publishing, which is the publishing path where you write the book, the publisher creates the beautiful book, and the book is sold to an audience of people. The biggest difference with traditional publishing and self-publishing is that in traditional publishing, you work with a publishing team. They edit, design, print, produce, and distribute the book, and then you write it and sell it to your audience. And I love traditional publishing. My first 4 books were traditionally published, and I maybe have mentioned this before, but I have an offer for an idea that I want to write a 5th book about, and a publisher is waiting on my proposal for that. So something I'm going to be working on. But what is it that actually makes someone like you or me as an author irresistible to a traditional publisher? And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. I think there's 7 different things I'm going to mention that will make you irresistible to a traditional publisher. But before we get started, I do want to let you know that if you are interested in writing a cookbook and getting a book deal, like how to get paid for writing a cookbook, working with a traditional publishing team, I'm hosting a live workshop called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook. It is on Wednesday, February 26th at 12 o'clock noon Eastern Time. We're going to talk about traditional publishing, cookbooks that generate income, landing book deals, and the steps to turn your recipes into a profitable book. So if you want to write a cookbook and you want to make money through a book deal, this workshop is for you. So head on over to www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/publishing, and you can register for the workshop. And I look forward to seeing you all then. Okay, so let's dive into how to become the kind of author that a traditional cookbook publisher loves. Number 1, I want you to lean in to what makes you unique and embrace what makes you different. And generally, what makes you unique and what makes you different is the parts of the kitchen cooking process that you love. What is it that you do in your kitchen that you have cracked the code on and you can't get enough of? For example, is it something about shopping? Is it something about ingredients? Is it something about an actual way of cooking or a method of cooking or a process for cooking or the way that you clean up or the way that you actually get dinner on the table each week? You know, sometimes I think we think that this is, from our perspective, kind of boring because doesn't everybody know how to do this? But that's not true. People don't know how to do this. Publishers want to write and publish books about how you do this. And you have a unique way of doing these things that you need to embrace. You need to tell the story about. You need to let your personality shine. And you need to remember that it doesn't necessarily fit into trends. It is your unique perspective on something in the kitchen that you uniquely are able to do. So when you can embrace who you are and what makes you unique, cookbook publishers love it. If you jump up and down with excitement about a certain way of cooking or a certain thing that you've figured out, that is exactly what they want. I love so much about the kitchen. I love so much about cooking. I love so much about the types of things that I have the opportunity to do in my kitchen that's why I always feel like I could probably write another book and another book and another book. And my book about Christmas cookies that I published last year came out of that very thought. I love Christmas. I love Christmas cookies. I love creating boxes of cookies for gifts. So I decided to write a self-published book about it. So what do you love? What do you uniquely enjoy doing in your kitchen? Lean into that, embrace that. And this difference will give you a voice. It'll give you a point of view. And it gives you experiences that shape a cookbook that no one else but you can write. Number 2, I want you to be engaged with a group of people on a regular basis. Cookbooks are not just about food. They're about community because you as the writer have to sell the book to people who want to read the book. So I want you to be engaged with people. You can test ideas and talk to people about things that resonate with you to see if it might go into your book. You can encourage conversation. You can show up in places where people are already gathering. It might be on social media. It might be an email newsletter. It could be a private Facebook community. It could be building your own private community. But I want you to be engaged on a regular basis with a group of people. And number 3, I want you to always be thinking about building and growing the people who are ready to buy a book when you write it. Start now, even if it's small. Being consistently engaged with these people matters more to a publisher than huge numbers of followers who are not engaged. And I know this for a fact because I have heard publishers talk about if someone has a large number of followers on TikTok, for example, it doesn't always translate into cookbook sales because TikTok might just be encouraging them to be entertained by our work, but not actually engaged with the author who created the video. So we want to be engaged with our community. That's number 2, but also to be building an audience that's going to be someone who could potentially buy your book in the future. You want to let your audience be on the journey with you. You want to reach out to people through multiple different ways, a blog, live events, cooking classes, newsletters, social media, not just one way. And then you also need to remember that consistent engagement matters more than huge numbers. You want to build trust and you want to build connection with your audience. It's number 3. Number 4 is you want to be cooking or kitchen or baking and recipe obsessed. Now that sounds a little bit overboard, but your enthusiasm for your food topic should be palpable. Publishers love authors who live and breathe their topic. So find something that you really love in the kitchen and talk about it. Test it, document it, learn about it, study it backwards and forwards, and get known for something in baking or meal prep or cooking or a specific cuisine or food of a culture that you are part of. Create your own niche. Be excited about something. And this all starts with something that you are passionate about. And when it comes to food, there is no shortage of ideas for things that we can become passionate about. I've started a whole rabbit hole in my kitchen over the past 3 weeks about sourdough starters, sourdough bread. I promise you, I am just barely at the tip of the iceberg, but I can see how this topic can unfold for people into being something that is a very big, broad, large part of their life for bakers. And I'm just sitting here at my desk looking at a stack of cookbooks from a variety of authors, and I have them on my desk for a variety of reasons. I see comfort food, I see bourbon, I see food of the South, I see Jewish holidays, I see celebrating with children, I see baking topics, I see vegetarian cooking, I see cookbooks related to eating better so you can sleep better. I see books about Cal-Mex cooking. I see a kitchen diary. There is no shortage of ideas for things that you can really get excited and obsessed about when it comes to your food and cooking. So what is that for you? Get enthusiastic about it and let your palpable enthusiasm shine. Number 5, cookbook publishers love authors who are willing to actively sell their book once it's published, because I want you to realize that a lot of people think, well, I'm going to get a traditional publisher because they will market the book for me. But that's really not true. The large part of the marketing is going to be on you, because publishers create books, you create the audience, and if you have an audience created, it's going to be easier to sell your book. So I want you to get used to thinking about being committed to selling your book once the book comes out. And the way they're going to know that you're committed to selling the book is that you've built the audience prior to even writing the book. You want to be willing to talk about your book, to pitch yourself, to host events or book tours. You're willing to do cooking demos. You're willing to do classes. You're willing to create behind-the-scenes videos, share your story. All of these things that tell the publisher that you are going to be the author who's willing to sell the book. So that's number 5. Number 6 is I want you to be easy to work with. Publishing in traditional publishing is a collaborative process. Publishers love authors who make the journey fun, smooth, easy, and not stressful. Meet your deadlines, communicate clearly and professionally, be responsive to your editor, your designer, and your marketing team. Take feedback gracefully. This is in particular, since we're working with editors, they're not there to criticize our books or us. They are there to make our books better. We need to be flexible, in particular when it comes to titles, design, and perhaps concepts that need a little bit of tweaking to make the book more marketable. Be flexible about that. And be basically someone who is a joy to work with. Because I promise you that if you do that for your first book, they will look to you for writing future books and having future book deals with. Strong publisher relationships start with a collaborative mindset on the part of the cookbook author. So that's number 6. Number 7, and the final thing is, I want you to think long-term about cookbook writing as a part of your career or part of your business. Publishers love it when they have authors who are thinking beyond just one book. Maybe they're thinking about future books. They're thinking about courses or speaking engagements or brand collaborations. And that you know that you've built an audience who's going to perhaps be interested in more than one book from you. Because the publisher isn't just investing in the book. They're investing in you. And when you can be a person who is unique, engages with people, builds an audience filled with trust and connection, is excited about something in the kitchen, is actively willing to sell books, and is easy to work with, I promise that you will be someone that they want to sign a book deal with, and maybe even more than one book deal. And this is exactly what has happened to me. The publisher, potentially for my 5th book, is a publisher that has published one of my first 4 books. And they're interested in me writing another topic for them to publish. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to publish this podcast episode today, to get you to kind of thinking about the kind of person you need to be, and you need to, the mindset you need to have to work with a professional publisher and a traditional publisher, but also to get you to think about this whole concept of writing a cookbook as part of a bigger picture for your life. A life where you are engaged with people and with a community of people who love to cook, where you're engaged with a life in your own kitchen where you love to cook, where you know that there's things about you that are unique that no one else can duplicate, and you're willing to lean into that, where you love to work with authors, editors, and you love to work with designers, and you love to create books and work with the publisher that creates them, and you love to write them, because it's all just kind of has a snowball effect in your life when you become this kind of person. So again, if you are interested in learning more at the workshop I am hosting next week on Wednesday, February 26th, called How to Get Paid to Write a Cookbook, you can head on over to www.cookbookwritersacademy.com/publishing and register for the workshop. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week as we talk all about how to get paid to write a cookbook. So that is it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.